dressed up in the whole steampunk outfit, and I've got some little goodies in the back there of my steampunk kit. And the reason I do that is because when we talk about the future, a lot of people immediately go to the self-driving cars and the Bitcoin, and they think they understand what the future is about because they've read about trends and they've seen the articles. I want us to kind of disengage our minds from assuming we know what is coming to trying to explore what we're really dealing with. Because the challenges we have, while they are more dramatic than they've ever been before, they're just ordinary human problems. The problems we've always had is we're in this place and we need to start on a journey and we're not quite sure where that journey goes and what do we need to take with us on this journey, and we're a little anxious about that. So I want to give you the kit. What are you going to take with you on this journey into the future so that you can be prepared. So let us have a look. There are 3 things we're going to take into the future. The first is a map. We need a map of an idea of where we're going and what that looks like. And then we need a compass, and the compass gives us direction, but it also gives us tools to anticipate the future. And then the third thing is a guide. And I'll be your guide today. But when you go back to your office, when you go back to your team, you are the guide. You're the person who's given more thought to the future than the rest of your team. And when you see somebody react immediately out of fear or anxiety, then you want to say, I know this looks scary, but let's just see what toolkit we have. Let's see where we are on this map. Let's have this conversation that may help you to have a bit of a language, a story to tell when you're trying to wrestle with these things. So it's a bit of a journey. I want you to look at, in the middle there's this, the blue thing, like on the first third, halfway up. It's a little crystal. Think of it as a prism, but it marks our present moment in time. That is where we are right now, in this moment in time. And while time is not linear, and while linear, the concept of linear time is actually a Western construct, people in the East don't think of time like that. It does help for the story. It just makes it a bit easier. So on the right-hand side, we have the places we've come from. When you're sitting with your team and you're having a conversation, while you're here at this moment in time, you're all in the same room, you have to acknowledge the fact that people have come into this room from different places. So in this room right now, we have people who are older and younger, people with more or less experience, people who've been in Cape Town longer or less as long, for a shorter period of time, people who've been in your organization, that they've just come in, they've been there maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but they have a wealth of experience from somewhere else. Whereas there are other people who are in your organization who've been there for 5 years or 10 years, but all they're doing is repeating the same stuff they've always learned before. They don't have any new ideas, new concepts. Remember that old saying that said we cannot solve the problem with the same thinking that was used to create the problem. So you really want to make sure that you understand the different experiences and world views that make up whoever is in your room in this blue prism period at that time. I think as well when you're talking with young people, with your children, they're not challenging your values. They exist in a world where the values mean something completely different to them. They're not being disrespectful, they just have a totally different way of relating to us. So we come from these different places on the left-hand side. Some are places with this walled there's a wall around it, so it's a kind of a place of safety. Another one is a little bit more open. This one is a bit more experimental, but we come to this moment in time. And then we want to look towards the future. First of all, we'll see that there's a monument to the past. There's lots of monuments to the past. There's lots of, we've always done it this way. This is how the organization works. This is how our industry works. That will never work in our industry. We've tried that before and it failed. Whenever you find those monuments to the past, you want to go and have a look at them. In South Africa, we have a reputation for pulling them down when we don't like the monument to the past. Whereas we could just totally reframe the story around the monument to the past and say, well, that is a monument that is a really bad example of how we don't want to act anymore. We can take it down and pretend it doesn't exist, or we can make sure everybody knows that that was wrong. So just acknowledge it and then decide how you're going to deal with it, but don't pretend it doesn't exist. That's one of your first challenges. There's a well here, there's a little clock tower. The clock tower allows you, whenever you get perspective, you can see more of the world. So if you're thinking, what does the future look like, find some perspective. Look at the top of your organization. Look at the industry that your organization is a part of. look at what people in your organization are doing outside of that, or what other companies or organizations in your industry are doing in other parts of the world. Get some perspective so that you can see the whole landscape that you could be potentially dealing with. And then as terra incognita. Terra incognita, unknown land. When you look towards the future, there's going to be some places where it's just a blur. You have no idea what is there. And that leaves us with anxiety. When we have that kind of anxiety, then we either make up horror stories of, there's a dragon there. That is scary. It's going to be bad. Let's avoid it altogether, rather than exploring, rather than trying to find somebody who might be in that space who will give us a bit of a picture. But if you're journeying into the future, you either need a cartographer or a guide to take you there, or you need to do some exploring on your own. You need to start finding out what is there. The person's got an RFID chip in his hand. Okay, it shows a little star there. That chip allows him to, instead of having to hand over his credit card, he can just swipe his hand. Instead of having to punch in a code at an electronic door, he can just swipe his hand. He has a whole lot of access in his hand. That raises a whole lot of other questions as well. But there are lots of people, these are fringe people doing this. This has been adopted by ordinary everyday people. We may feel uncomfortable with it, but this is how it's working. Food. This is vertically grown hydroponic food farms, which people are exploring in different places in cities and towns. We need to do that because one of the other trends is an ecological trend, and we know that here in Cape Town. And if we're getting really worried about the droughts and everything else, well, don't worry, because now we can grow our meat in laboratories as well. I apologize to the vegans who had to see that. I should have given you a trigger warning, I should have. All right. We also have self-driving cars, of course, and Uber is exploring a whole lot of these self-driving cars. There are self-driving trucks that are actually in convoys on the roads in Europe, actually delivering things. This is our reality. And if this is anxious, I'm just going to show you a picture of pizza, because that tends to calm people down. So the pizza can now be delivered to you by drone, so you don't even have to wait for the traffic. The future is full of bright opportunities. And of course, we've got another concern, which is while we are doing all these things, we're on our phones ordering our food and ordering our Ubers and posting things on Facebook. There's a whole lot of stuff about our digital privacy and all the information we're sharing. That's another concern. Now that leaves you with this situation, and I hope you're feeling this just a little bit, okay? Like this whole emotional roller coaster. This is so exciting. This is so positive. That is really scary. I hate that. I don't want to know about it. One of the pictures I don't show because it might be offensive to people is a photograph of the woman lying in bed with the robot, because now we're talking about robot sex. And my daughter will have all conversations with me about the future. She's excited about everything. That is wrong. There's no question that is wrong. Which is really interesting for a young person to draw such a firm line and reject something. So what I'm challenging you with here is that whatever role you're playing in your organization or in your family, as a leader of that situation, I want you to embrace this anxiety. I want you to fully explore all the stuff that makes you feel really uncomfortable about it. And then once you've dealt with it, once you've worked through all of that, when you are in a situation with your team, when you're talking to your family, when you're talking to young people, when you're talking about their education and their future, then you need to take the role of, let us explore. How does this actually pan out? What can we do? And that is what we're going to go into after our tea break now. We're actually going to explore some tools so that we can start to get a picture of the future, so that we're not at the mercy of these emotions, because they don't help us. We're just going to react. We're going to be like that room of old people sitting in an auditorium, all with the same perspective, the same mindset. We want to be challenged. We want to do something different. Okay. I call myself a futures alchemist. And alchemy is that ancient art/science, where they were trying to take a base element and turn it into gold. And a lot of the conversation was about the science, the experimentation. We're taking this, we're going to mix it with, eye of Newton under a moon, or we're going to mix it with a bit of copper, and we're going to put more pressure or more heat. What do we need to do to change this into something different? And they experimented, they tried and tried again. When they learned, it was a secret society, but amongst themselves, they shared these things. And it wasn't just about the lead into gold, it was also about how do we turn this human body into something that actually can add value. So it was this whole spiritual element as well. But the whole alchemy part was, let's experiment, let's keep trying, let's try different things, and let's talk to other people and learn what they are doing so that we can try the same thing. Because somewhere between this art and magic and science, we might find some gold. And if we don't find gold, on the way we're going to discover some amazing things. So the scientific method was discovered on the way to looking for gold.